Did we go right to 2 o'clock? Can we use all of our time? I can't remember. Where did Elise go? Oh, she left? To you guys though? Okay, well, I'm going to assume we can go right up to 2 o'clock. And of course, we're going to be outside so you can talk to us more. Seth, I was thinking about the relationship we forge with our readers. And I think of all of us, you probably have the most, I think you have responded to your readers because they are more in communication with you probably than the rest of us are. I mean, I'm only now beginning to get mail from my readers because my series is younger, I guess.
You're saying some of us hide from the readers?
I'm an introvert, what can I say? How is that? I thought it was so interesting to think of how it might change your writing as you're getting the input from your readers.
Yeah, I mean, it has changed my, I don't know, well, it changed the direction of my writing in terms of writing the Juliet story. I'm not sure that I would have written that story if people hadn't been out there asking for more with that character. You know, to look at it a little bit also from a craft standpoint, in my classes we talk a lot about how, you know, you really need to work on, in your writing, the connection between the reader and the writer, and take on an understanding that the reader is putting energy into the reading as well, putting energy into the work. You know, if you leave room in the story for the reader to invest their own imagination and mental images into what's going on in it, then I think it becomes a much more active process for the reader, and the reader can be more excited about writing the book. About reading the book. So, from that standpoint, I'm always thinking about the reader when I'm writing, and thinking about, you know, how to describe just enough so that they know where the characters are, but also leave room for them to invest their own energy into it. And in terms of, you know, really interacting with my readers, by putting my stuff out there as audio podcasts, distributing it for free on the web as audio, before it's ever been published, I get email from my readers, and you know, the thing about that has been really great is that, you know, having gone to workshop and hung out with writers plenty, where there's always like, I like your thing, or you know, this is what you should work on, or I think your thing is great and you should try to do this. There's always sort of all these caveats or questions or ideas about how to improve. The great thing about my online readers and listeners is that they're really super just flatly encouraging. Like, they really like my stories. If they don't like my stories, they go away. And the ones that stay and like it email me a lot, and I get to hear from them. And, you know, I think more than anything, rather than changing how I write or changing the direction of my pieces, it's given me more energy to produce more, and I've been happier as a writer, which hopefully makes my stories more fun to read.
Thanks, Seth. This reminded me, before coming over here, I was talking to my friend Martha, who is a young adult author in the audience, and I was thinking about, Martha and I were talking about some books she has on submission and how difficult it is as a writer to anticipate the market. And I'm not speaking in a marketing term, because I'm frankly not interested in having that discussion about market trends and how we're getting our books out there. That's probably another workshop, not this one. But what is interesting to me, and this one's for you, Michelle, because you've just started something new with the younger readers, and I also write young adult. How do you prepare yourself for the unknown reader?
That's a good question. I think that, you know, what's been so interesting in the last couple of years and what's kind of new is seeing a lot of crossover between young adult and adult fiction. You get a lot of adults reading books like, you know, and really amazing young adult fiction being produced, like The Book Thief, which, you know, I read the entire book without realizing that it was actually categorized as a young adult novel, or the Hunger Games series, which was, I thought, phenomenal. I mean, going back to, I'm blown away by authors who managed to create an entirely different world like that and populate it with these incredible characters and create these constructs which are so new. I mean, it's been the challenge for me working on the newest book, is doing a little bit of that, because all of my other books are very much set in the present day, in the present time, in the world that we all live in. You know, I was a little reluctant to try writing young adult fiction because I did have some reservations. I mean, my characters do tend to swear fairly liberally in the adult fiction, and I was worried that it wasn't going to be gripping enough, but what my editor said is that she said, we feel like there's a little bit of a void in that they don't really have thrillers for kids. I mean, not sort of the standard, like where the kids are actually actively involved and they're on the run and you get the kind of excitement that you get in some of the adult fiction. So just write it the way that you would write any of your other books, and I really did do that. And the only real change, the only thing I did differently is I always hand off my book when I feel like I've got a pretty tight first draft to 8 to 10 beta readers who read it and give me all sorts of interesting feedback. And for me, I feel like I take, if I'm starting to see overlap between the different readers or if something really rings true for me, I take it. But it's incredible the wide variety of things, the ways that people react to books and the things that different people pick up on. And I have to say I was really impressed with the kids. I mean, I had 4 teenagers who read the book, and they were some of the best editors I ever had. I mean, they really, down to things like, well, when you're texting, you would never say this. Like, you wouldn't spell the whole word out, it's RU, it's just the letter R. Like, what are you doing? And really made some very helpful suggestions that went a long way towards improving the second draft.
How about you, Sophie?
Oh,
You should talk about yours a little bit. I mean, that same question, I think it's a great
oh,
question.
well, yeah. I have teenagers, so I get the information, but it's delivered with a fairly large dose of contempt. So, no, I did have something in mind. I was thinking about, and this is sort of a segue into the next question I had for you, which was, how can I put this? I think that occasionally, okay, so I'm not answering your question at all. I find that as I write, the book that I produce is not the book I set out to produce. And I think that's probably true for all of us in various ways. But one of the things I've been noticing lately is that I seem to be sneaking some agenda in. And that's something that is not a wise thing to do for an author. I think that if you set out to write the book that will change people's minds about, topic X, that you'll probably fail. But I thought it was interesting to discover that, and these are mild points, but things I have an opinion on. And I was thinking about social commentary. We actually have a good friend, Scott Brown. Some of you may know him. He wrote Breathers. He lives in San Francisco. Scott and I were talking about the subject of social commentary. And I say Scott wrote a zombie book. He says he wrote social commentary. So I guess we'll agree to disagree on that. But what do you think? Are you all social commentators? Is that the word? Are there ways in which, I'm kind of thinking of you, Julie, because while your series, I think, is beloved for your characters, I know that you sneak little things in there that I happen to think are lovely about characters, and mildly political as well. What do you think?